Holy turnout, Batman. And there's very bright lights in your face,
Yes.
Jim.
Hi, guys. This is awesome.
Yes. So excited to have you guys here. First of all, I'll start with you, Chandler. How's it been going today for you?
Great. Yeah, it's my first time in Northern Ireland. It's been great so far.
How about you?
Oh, it's been fantastic. I love Ireland. You guys are the nicest people I've ever met, so glad to be here.
This place sucks. No, it doesn't. It's awesome. How you guys doing this weekend?
Yes.
Fantastic.
Obviously, the UK loves The Walking Dead. I'm going to ask a few questions first, and then we have Dave. Give it up for Dave over here.
Dave.
It's like the 5th time I've done it today. He's totally embarrassed. He has the microphone, so after my questions, we're going to get you guys to interact with our star-studded panel here. But I'll start with you, Chandler. So The Walking Dead, we've had this conversation before. He's been at other Monopoly events, Comic-Cons. The Walking Dead is, we were saying, it's sort of horror genre, but not. It's a zombie show, but there's got so much heart to it. So, but if somebody has not watched The Walking Dead yet, how would you describe it to them?
Oh man. Well, it's about survival. It's about people, finding each other in this apocalypse and trying to navigate their way through it and overcoming the obstacles that come to them, whether it be zombies or other people, or each other.
Yeah. Would you agree?
Oh, God. I don't know. I mean, I would say it's really just about the relationship of people in a very strange environment and situation. You know, it's an interesting show because you get to see what humanity would do in a situation so different from our day-to-day life. Yeah. And it really focuses on that, not just blowing zombies' brains out, but also that, every once in a while.
A little bit of that too, yeah.
I think it's, at its heart, what it becomes is what's important to you. If you had a chance to start over, what would be important to you, your chosen family, your blood family, and how you would rebuild society. Would we still make the same mistakes that got us here in the first place? And apparently, yes. Depending upon what group you're with, you realize that if you look at all the bad guys in each group, they didn't start out that way. If any other group was to look at our group, we'd be the bad guys. I think when you work in an environment and only work to serve yourself, it never ends well.
Ooh, well said. That got really deep there for a second, but we appreciate that. Well, I would love to talk to you guys about how you were cast in the show, and I'll start with you, Michael, because you've had such an amazing career, but what brought you to this show in particular?
Scott Gimple brought me to the show. I had finished up on Southland, and he reached out, and he had followed my career, and he just really wanted me to be Abraham, so he pursued me, and I guess we both won, but he won.
So I started out as a local hire. I think I was 14 when I got the audition, at least. And it was a pretty crazy experience, honestly, the whole auditioning process. I remember I sent in a tape, and then the callbacks were in person at the studio, and my reps told me and told my parents, like, hey, if you go there and they ask you to speak with a psychologist or a therapist, you're in the right direction. And I was like, what? So yeah, I did the callback, did the scenes, and then they pulled me into the other room, and they were like, do you mind if you actually meet with our psychiatrist? And I was like, yeah. Just making sure I wasn't crazy and being on the show wouldn't, damage me as a little kid. And yeah, I think it was like, maybe a week later, my dad got a call like at 8 p.m. and they were like, hey, we actually forgot to give your kid a psychology test. It was like a 200, 300 questionnaire asking if you've ever thought about killing people and stuff. And I was like, well, no. So we had to go to a Starbucks at like 9 p.m. to fill out that questionnaire, and halfway through my dad got the call that I got the part, and I remember he pulled me over and he was like, Katelyn, I need to talk to you. And I was like, Dad, I just want to go home. I am so tired. I just got asked 50 different ways if I ever wanted to kill someone. Like, I just want to go home. And he was like, no, you want to hear this? And he was like, you got 99.9% chance you got the part. And I just started bawling. I mean, I cried the whole way home. It was an hour drive, so I cried for at least an hour straight, just so excited. And luckily enough, I got to stay on the show for as long as I did. Yeah.
Man, did they have you do that psychology test?
No.
No? No.
They didn't care.
No.
They didn't care how damaged the adults are going to be.
Man, yeah, I auditioned for the show when I was 10. I had auditioned for like a ton of other stuff at the time, so it was just another random audition for me. And I think I got a call back like a couple of months after my first audition, so I forgot that I even auditioned for it in the first place. And they called me back again into the studio, and yeah, that was it. It was pretty, no psychology test, no like therapist asking me 200 questions. So awesome.
It was a fun fact that as my dad and I were walking back from the room that we did the psychology test in, we passed Chandler and his dad. And as we were passing, my dad goes, "Was that the kid on the show?" And I'm like, "Shh, Dad, just keep walking, just keep walking."
And how did you feel when you got there? I mean, did you instantly click with the rest of the cast? Is it for all of you guys? Was it an instant connection?
Oh, it was very intimidating. I mean, you're a little kid coming into a set that's been together for 5 years. You have extreme social anxiety, so you're just like, hi. And Chandler was really the only kid like on the show too, so everyone was adults too, so it was very intimidating. But everyone made me feel right at home right away, including Michael. He was such a sweetheart. He was one of my favorite people to work with. So, yeah, it's just a bunch of kind people.
So you don't need that psychology test. You're fine.
Sure I am. We had a really cool, myself, Christian, and Josh, when we came in, we had sort of a cool entrance onto set. This is right at a time where Scott was... they made a proclamation that they were going to really get closer to what the graphic novel was. So the whole setup of our entrance in the scene where we were introduced was basically a recreation of the cover art in the edition that we're introduced in. But coming up to set, there was this sort of curved road that led up to set, and then a long walk that dropped down onto set. And I remember the three of us all totally in costume, makeup, ready to go, walked on set, walked around the corner, and it was the three of us walking, not in formation, but sort of in the formation of the comic book. And as soon as we made the corner and started coming down, the entire crew and cast who was on set already just started applauding. And we just knew that we were in a safe space to create, and we also knew that we were absolutely being welcomed in with open arms from the cast and crew. Now the fans we would find out later on, but we obviously got the same reception from the fans. We were just completely embraced and felt the love of the fans and the people involved on the creative end of it and the rest of the cast. It was a wonderful experience, and has been and continues to be. So.
Yay! Were you instantly connected with people?
God, yeah, I remember it being so hot. Like my first day on set, it was like 2010 in Atlanta, like in the middle of June, and God, it was so painfully hot. I had like 2 lines. I was so stoked, and yeah, no, for me it was
2
so
eyes.
Cool. 2 eyes, yeah. For me, it was so cool because when I auditioned for the show, I read all the comic books and everything. So, like, showing up on set and being in the costume, like having the science dog shirt on and everything, was like the coolest thing ever. Like, I had like when I had like my iPod Touch and like my phone background was Carl, from the comics and everything. It was the coolest thing for me being on that set for the first season.
And speaking of cool, you did tell me once that when you got to shoot a gun, shooting a gun was cool, scary, or no? Just cool.
Well, it's a very American thing. I'm realizing, yeah. But yeah, no, we'd fire actual guns on the set. We'd shoot blanks, and we're always very, very careful with the safety and make sure that everyone knows that none of the guns are actually loaded. We shake all the bullets to make sure that they're not actual bullets. And but it's so much fun getting to blast away on set, pretend like you're killing zombies. It's very, very cool.
Yes. No stranger to that, Michael, in your career, shooting guns. What's that been like for you? Does it feel powerful?
It's just fun. I mean, if for anyone who's, I'm not like a big gun guy in my personal life, but I've been to a lot of ranges because of work, and it's a blast, literally.
Gun pun.
It's a lot of fun. I mean, to do it safely and in a controlled area. I love going to the range. I don't own weapons, but I enjoy going to the range. It is a lot of fun.
And on screen, you're a total badass. Give it up for these guys, by the way, because even aside from Walking Dead, amazing actors. We're gonna take it to the fans. Is that okay, guys, to get some questions? Dave has the microphone. Just put your hand up if you want to ask a question. Thank you.
I thought my 2 eyes joke.
I liked your gun pun. Oh, got a gentleman right in the middle.
What's your favorite episode of the show?
I can tell you my favorite episode to shoot. It was definitely the episode when Glenn and Enid had a storyline together, like they met. I think it was called Heads Up. I just remember that being a really big moment for me because I honestly thought I was gonna get killed off within like the 3rd episode I was on the show. So when I saw that they were pairing me up with a main character, I was like, oh my God, I got a chance. And Glenn was my favorite character too, so I was just very excited to see their dynamic together, and working with Stephen was unbelievable. I learned so much in like the short amount of a week just by working with him. It was beautiful.
Yeah, I think I think one of the most like well done episodes that we did on the show was it was the episode where Carl lost his eye, and for me I was like, so being a big fan of the comics, I knew that him getting his eye shot out was a huge deal. It's a huge thing, and usually the showrunner would sit us down and he'd outline the storyline for us for the season. And he never, like, when he did that for me, he didn't mention that Carl was going to get his eye shot out. And so I was like, man, that sucks. I really wanted it to happen. And then I get told in like 3 episodes before, and it's kind of like hush hush. And so I'm like going around like sharing secrets to the crew. I'm like, yo, guys, I'm going to lose my eye in a few episodes. Don't tell anyone. It's going to be so cool. And we finally get to do it. And it's just like, it was so cool because we had the comic book there because we were trying to match the shot like perfectly to how it was in the comics. And so getting just to bring that whole issue to life in the show and be all covered in all the guts and everything, it was so much fun. It was so cool. And the episode turned out so good too. Like it was this epic battle in Alexandria to like kill all the walkers, and everyone kind of all the characters got their like cool moment to shine like throughout the episode. It was a really, really well done episode.
Do you have a favorite episode?
I love any episode that Melissa has a lot of work in. I love Melissa McBride, and I love her work. So anything that's heavy Carol, I love it.
Another question right over here on the right. Oh, anyone? Just put your hand up. Dave will pick a favorite. Give it up for Dave one more time. He's getting his steps in today. Here we go.
What was it like working for Stephen Ogg, or working with him?
I think we were all working for Stephen Ogg.
That's exactly. We all work for Stephen Ogg.
Yep.
And he will see this. That's my favorite part about the internet, is that Stephen will see this, and we do all work for him. What is that? Negan? Jeffrey Dean, whatever his name is? Jeffrey Dean, who cares?
You worked for Stephen Ogg in the show whenever he was Nacon.
When he was, I'm missing it.
Negan?
You know the way they called themselves Nacon?
Yes.
You worked for him then, didn't you?
All right.
No, he was great though. He was great. He was a really fun personality. Just so unique and absolutely hilarious.
When I got out of the van to show up on set, because we try to like look and see who's we like to like figure out who's being cast for all these really cool iconic roles. And I remember stepping out of the van. I didn't look at like the cast list or call sheet or anything, and I look down the thing and I see, as I know him from, I played GTA and everything, so I know him as Trevor, and so I step out and I see him standing down the thing. I instantly recognize him and I just freeze. So I'm like, that's Trevor, no way! I'm freaking out on the inside, and I'm like, I try to play it cool, and he comes up to me and he says hi. I'm like, hey, what's up, man? How's it going? Nice to meet you. Cool. And it was a very surreal experience for me. I was like texting all my friends, like, Trevor's on The Walking Dead, guys. It was really cool.
Thank you. He's a character. There is actually a Stephen Ogg interview that we did with him in Aberdeen, but there's a few bleeps in it for some language, so I'm just going to warn you. Okay, yeah. Just warning you and your parents. All right, where is Dave with another question? Oh, all the way on the left.
What's been your favorite fight scene in The Walking Dead?
Favorite fight scene?
Favorite fight scene? Is that what you said, fight scene? For me, it was the construction site fight. For me personally, to be in. I just got to go crazy. And, we all kill walkers on the show, but it's a good day when you get to kill like 25 or 30 of them. It's just fun.
Enid wasn't in a lot of fight scenes. She kind of went around walkers instead of going straight towards them. But I don't know. It's really hard to choose. I think what was the one moment? It was in Alexandria where Hilltop comes and backs them up right when you think that you and your dad are gonna get killed. That was pretty cool. That was the first time I was like actually in a like battle sequence. So probably that.
Gosh, yeah. One that really sticks out is that scene, because you guys know Chiva the tiger. It's really just a dude in a blue suit, like from like head to toe, just blue. So like when you're in a scene and you're trying to be all serious and everything, and you just see this dude in a blue suit charging as fast as he can, jump off a trampoline and tackle a guy, and just like pretending to tear him to shreds. It is so hard to stay in character and react and be like, oh, that's a tiger, not a dude in a blue suit. It's it's pretty wild. But yeah, I think that one stands out for me the most because it was just like so far out there for me. And we got to shoot more guns. Just fun.
Got a question right here in the front.
What made you want to audition?
Oh, I needed a job.
Work, yeah.
That's fair.
No, I was very little. I was 14. I think I had just gotten an agent at 13. So, it was just, good God, send me anything my way. And luckily enough, I had already actually auditioned for The Walking Dead once before. I have a feeling it was for Lizzie's part. Thank God I didn't get that, because if I looked at flowers, I was gone. But yeah, I got the audition for Enid, and I remember my dad saying, oh, you're going to love this one. And I was, and truthfully, I fell in love with her right when I auditioned, and I just had to keep telling myself, if you don't get it, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine. But really, I was obsessed with her.
Yeah, it was just another audition. Like I had auditioned for. I mean, most actors out there audition for like everything on the planet. Like anything that fits like their general description, they audition for. So it was just another random one for me.
I think initially they didn't. The show in the early days was really crazy secretive. It's pretty secretive now, but it was insanely secretive in the beginning. So I didn't even want to go in initially because they wouldn't tell me what it was for. I had just finished Southland. I was working on a show that I loved. I was working in Los Angeles, and then we get this call, and they're like, "Yeah, we want you to go to Georgia and do this thing." And we're like, "What is it?" And they're like, "Well, we can't tell you." I'm like, "Well, I can't go to Georgia then." Like, "Well, no, but you're going to want to do this." I go, "I really don't care if you don't tell me." So we went back and forth actually for about a week and a half, where we would say no, thank you, and they would say no, please, you need to trust us. And we're like, no, we're not really at a point in our career where we're just trusting people. So they eventually told us what it was, and then we were like, oh, okay. It really that's all it took, was just telling us what it was. But initially they didn't want to tell us anything. The character, the story arc, nothing. They just were like, oh yeah, come to Georgia. And it's like, no, that's not going to happen.
Got a question right here.
Who was your favorite villain or like bad guy?
Shane.
Yeah.
So cool. Yeah, I feel like people forget about Shane. It's like, oh yeah, Negan, the governor. It's like, no, Shane was cool, man. It's a very, very cool character. Just like so awesome to watch, like, character that you, it's not a villain, like, grow into a villain over the course of a couple seasons. Very, very cool.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think he's the most human and honestly relatable in a weird way, in a sad way. Yeah, I would definitely agree with that.
Who was, you remember the name of the guy who ran Terminus?
Oh,
Gareth.
The cannibal?
Was it Garrett?
Gareth. That was the character's name.
Who got murdered in the church?
Yeah, Gareth.
Garrett?
Yeah.
All right, him. I don't know his name, but I just thought he was insane.
I think that's his name, right? Is it Gareth?
I feel like it's
They
not
know.
Garrett.
His actual name is
They would
Andy.
know.
It's Andrew. But
Yeah.
his character's name, I thought it was Gareth.
Chandler is putting both
Maybe.
of us to shame.
Somebody Google it.
I gotta
Come
look
on.
this up. One sec.
Come on, you guys. You should be on this stuff.
I
Who is it?
hear them yelling. Is that right, Garrett? They're all going,
It's
yeah.
Gareth.
Yeah. They're better than Google, I think.
All right.
This is like a Walking Dead encyclopedia out here, which is
Maybe.
awesome. We've got more questions. One over here.
He's coming. What's the hardest thing you've ever did?
In the show?
Yeah.
All right, just making sure.
You've had a few. Yeah.
The hardest thing in the show. I think the hardest stuff is, it's interesting when people talk about, for actors, like the emotional stuff, the crazy stuff, that's like what we love doing. So a hard day usually consists of something that is not sort of work related, but like either waiting in a really crappy place where it's like 110 degrees with 90% humidity, or a night shoot where you're on your knees for 9 hours. Or when you have to do like a blood pack that explodes over your entire body, and then this sticky blood that you have to walk around with. So, I mean, to me, that's the hard stuff. But the emotional stuff, like the physical stuff, that's what I love doing. And I think mostly everyone would give you the same answer. So for an actor, a hard day is different than a hard day for most people, because the hard stuff that you think would be hard is the stuff we love to do.
Yeah, I remember the scene where Enid basically watches her parents get eaten alive in front of her. It wasn't necessarily hard to do. It was very easy to like evoke those kind of emotions, but I was 15, so leaving the set that day, it definitely, out of like all the work I've done, I remember that scene stuck with me the most, and it was kind of harder to get out of that energy. I had to learn how to fix that because I was not wanting to feel like that. So that was probably one of the hardest.
Yeah, I think my hardest was the last day that I was filming, just because it was like, I mean, the whole episode was so depressing. Like, it was just like some of the stuff that I had to say was really, really depressing. So having to like go and say and do all that stuff that's because I'm me being emotionally attached to my own character, and it just made it difficult. But yeah, my last day, it wasn't even like shooting it was hard. It was more of like after we'd finished my last shot and I walked out, and like the entire cast and crew, they all had eye patches on and they were all clapping for me and everything, and I was like, man, guys, I had this whole big speech prepared, and now I'm sobbing, and I can't say a word. So, yeah, that was my hardest day on set, I would say. Yeah.
Got a question right here in the front.
Hi guys. First of all, I just want to say hi. Nice to have you, sir. My question is, I know the show's really gory, so is there anything that like turned your guys' stomach and you were like, oh, no, that's disgusting? Like, is there anything that like really, really like grossed you guys out?
Oh, yeah. It was like my second episode. I had to eat a turtle. It was disgusting. It was actually a lot of crew members had to walk away because they thought they were going to vomit. They emailed me before the episode happened, and they were like, would you mind eating tuna in this scene? And I said, no. I know how gory it's going to be. It's going to look disgusting. I can't do that. So instead, they decided to do chicken wings in edible blood. The edible blood was mint flavored. So it was watered down mint-ish chicken, and it tasted so gross. And I remember just like having to pretend like I was taking really big bites, but in reality I was taking tiniest little nibbles I could. But apparently it worked, because I made a lot of people very sick. And they've been on that show for so long, so I don't know. I guess the turtle just put it over the edge for them.
Ew.
Yeah, that's pretty gross. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like all the, at least for me, all the gross stuff that like my character was a part of was just cool. Like rubbing the guts all over and everything. Like that was just cool. That was fun. Like it doesn't smell bad. It's like it's just kind of sticky and like it's all foam and like fake stuff. So it's just cool to see how it's done. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it's for the most part, I think we're so close to how it's done, how it's made. The physical stuff that Greg Nicotero's crew goes through to make it happen. So we literally see it being made. So I think when you're in that position, it sort of removes a lot of the gore element. You guys see it all put together as one thing. We see, okay, take the foam, all right, move the foam piece back, put the blood inside, and you're like, oh, that's really cool. What's going on? Oh, and then he squeezes and it's going to come out. Okay. So I think it's sort of dissected in such a way for us that we're so aware of what is really happening that it's less gross, except when you're eating a disgusting turtle.
I will say, too, I remember binging the show before I got on it, and do you guys remember the well walker that was, like, all bloated? And then he ripped apart and his guts fell out? That was the one, just watching the show, I was like, oh, I don't need to see that again.
You'll never have chicken wings again after that.
No.
We've got a question here. Yep.
Hello. If you could be any other character in the show, who would you be and why?
Baby Judith. When she was a baby, because she just got carried around, fed, slept, pooped.
By me. I was the one who had to carry her.
Exactly.
For like 2 seasons.
And I would just have to look up and see Chandler
and just
carrying
cry.
That's all he's ever wanted
Just
is
swaying
Chandler
back
to
and
carry him.
forth to Chandler.
He already does this.
It would have been perfect.
We're going to get a question over here to the very patient sheriff with her hand up. Thank you. Is that her hand
Oh man, I gotta say Eugene. Eugene would be so much it'd be so much fun to play, but I could never do it as good as Josh. The guy who plays Eugene at the moment is like perfect. He's so perfect for that role, and he's nothing like the character at all. Like 100% polar opposite. But it would just be such a fun character to play. He's so weird.
Very talented. Mine would be Carol. Obviously. Yeah.
You don't even need to state why.
It's just like obvious. No, I think her character has had such a huge range on the show, starting from where she did in an abusive relationship and a mother, and then turning into the person that she is now. I just think it's such a beautiful story arc, and it'd be really cool to play. I don't think I could give it justice as Melissa does, but yeah.
Who was the funniest person to work with on set?
Me, I'm kidding.
You can say yourself. Sure, why not?
The first person I actually ever met on set was Josh McDermott. It was in the hair and makeup trailer, and he is hilarious. He has all these little things that he does. I don't know if I have to talk to you guys to see if he's done something. I don't want to spoil it. But he's just hilarious, and he's always looking for a way to kind of lighten the mood. But he was one of the first people I met, and he made me feel right at home.
There's a lot of funny people in the cast, and
crew.
Yes, people who you wouldn't necessarily think would be funny. But for me, the early on, especially Stephen and Josh, because I worked a lot with them, and that's a lot of how things are broken down. Or you get to know people that you work with more, so you see the humor in them, and you just get to know them as people better, quicker. And I spent a lot of time early on with Josh and Stephen. And Stephen, his background prior to doing The Walking Dead and getting Glenn was all in comedy. So this was actually a departure from what he had typically been cast as. So for me, I'd have to say Stephen and Josh.
Yeah. Oh, man. I gotta say, Alana is just hilarious. She was so much fun to work with. Just somehow, every scene that, we didn't have one-on-one scenes, but there was a lot of scenes where we would just be in the same scene as each other, and somehow she would always find a way to make it fun and enjoyable. Even if there was one time where we had to push this car up a hill, and we didn't. It was no pulleys or cables or anything fancy. We were literally, the car was in neutral, and we had to push it up backwards up this hill, and the sun was just beating down on the car, and it was so hot. And I can't even remember what she'd said. She made some sort of joke here and there, and it would just make it so great, so much better. And for me it was Alana. She was great.
Got a question here on the left.
The girl who played Tara, by the way. I realize you guys probably don't. Yeah, sorry.
What would you change about how you got killed off in the show, and how did you feel whenever you actually did get killed off in the show?
What would we change, but still die? No, I just want to, well, for me, I wish Abraham had lived a little longer with Sasha, so we could have actually fought an all-out war, and then had a death connected to that. But I prefer the death in the TV show than to the graphic novel. The graphic novel was incredibly passive. And I think this was more befitting Abraham. But for me, I would have just, and not, sure, everybody's I would prefer not to. Because the show was fun and great to work on. But if you're saying that you had to die and what would you change about it, I would say for me, just to happen just a little bit later and have a little more time with Sasha.
I got killed a pretty cool way. Just because I got decapitated, I got to keep my own copy of my decapitated head. So, I'll take it. My dad actually puts it on a broomstick and answers the door for Halloween. Only for the older children. Don't want to traumatize anyone. But no, I think it was a great way to go out. You know, she was at peace. I don't know if she was ready to go, but I think she lived a life that she could be proud of. And I got my own head in a box in my parents' closet.
Not everyone can say that, you know?
I know.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah. When I was still on the show, I always kind of figured if Carl were to die at any point, then I would want gunfire, explosions, Carl like saving the day, you know? And when I was told that Carl wasn't going to be on the show anymore, Scott, he did not pitch it to me very well, the showrunner. He was like, yeah, so Carl, he's going to be trying to help this other character. He's going to end up getting bit. He's going to end up bringing him down into a sewer, and that's where he's going to die. I'm like, come on, man. He's going to crawl into a sewer and die? Like, dude, that's lame. And but then I got the script for the episode, and I got my gunfire. So, you know, Negan was like storming Alexandria, got my explosions. He was blowing up Alexandria, and Carl saved the day. He got all the Alexandrians out of the city before it burned to the ground, and then rebuilt it, whatever. But he saved the day. So I got everything that I wanted. I'm happy with it.
Say good for you, but it's a death scene, so
Yes.
that would be awkward. We have time for one final question right here.
Hi, so my question is, if you were in the apocalypse, like in The Walking Dead, and you had to pick one character from the show to team up with to survive, who would it be?
None of the actors, that's for sure. None of us know how to survive at all. Characters? Like, I mean, Daryl, I feel like would be the go-to.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got like tracking and survival skills and all that stuff, right?
Yeah, I would say, I'd probably say Rick, just because, I don't know, he's a dad, so that's good. He won't harm children, at least. And yeah, he's able to survive, and he's also able to lead, and so I wouldn't feel so lost, I think. That'd be really nice.
That's a good answer. I mean, obviously, Rick was in charge, so Rick should be in charge. But just so far as like a character who'd be a badass to be with, I'd just have to say Tyrese. Because it's like, you know, just a hammer doesn't, you don't need to reload. Never runs out of batteries. Like, it's just ready to go. Hammer is probably the most efficient weapon any of us had.
It's a great question. Thank you so much. What a great way to end the panel. And unfortunately, we do have to end the panel, but the good news is you can see all these guys at their table, get an autograph, get a photo, but please show your love for the cast of The Walking Dead. Michael,
Thank you
Katelyn,
so
and
much, guys.
Chandler.
You guys.
Come say hi.